With a whispered warning. The afternoon sun filtered through the tall windows of Harrison and Associates, casting long shadows across the polished marble floor. Margaret Chen had been cleaning these offices for nearly 15 years, arriving before dawn and leaving after most folks had gone home to their families. At 62, Margaret moved with the quiet efficiency of someone who had learned to be invisible, yet saw everything. That Tuesday evening, she was emptying wastebaskets when she noticed Mr. William Harrison still at his desk. The 70-year-old businessman sat hunched over a stack of papers, his silver hair catching the desk lamp's glow. Something about his posture, the way his shoulders sagged, reminded Margaret of her late husband when he'd worried about their mortgage payments. Margaret had always admired Mr. Harrison. Unlike other executives who looked through her as if she were part of the furniture, he always nodded good evening. Once, when she'd been ill, he'd quietly arranged for her to keep her job despite missing a week. As she worked nearby, she couldn't help but notice the documents spread across his desk. Years of cleaning offices had taught her to read upside down, and what she saw made her heart sink. The papers bore the letterhead of Harrison's own company, but the signatures below belonged to his business partners. The words buyout agreement and immediate resignation stood out like warning bells. Margaret's hands trembled slightly as she continued dusting. She'd witnessed this before at other companies, trusted partners pushing out the founder, leaving them with nothing. For 20 minutes she wrestled with herself. It wasn't her place. She was just the cleaning lady. Who was she to interfere in million-dollar business deals? But then she remembered her grandmother's words from long ago. When you see wrong being done to good people, silence makes you part of it. Taking a deep breath, Margaret approached Mr. Harrison's desk. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "Mr. Harrison, sir, I don't mean to intrude, but..." She glanced toward the door, then leaned closer. "Don't sign those papers, please." William looked up startled. Margaret had never spoken to him beyond a polite greeting. "I'm sorry?" he asked gently. Margaret's cheeks flushed, but she pressed on. "Those documents, sir. I've seen similar ones before. Your partners, they're not being honest with you. The company's worth much more than what they're offering." William set down his pen, studying her face. "How would you know about business valuations, Margaret?" She straightened slightly. "My late husband and I, we lost our small restaurant the same way. Partners we trusted convinced us to sell our shares for far less than they were worth. By the time we realized what happened, it was too late." Her voice grew stronger. "I've been cleaning offices for 15 years, Mr. Harrison. I've seen good people get taken advantage of because they trusted the wrong folks. Those papers, they're designed to confuse you, to make you feel like you have no choice." William was quiet for a long moment, then asked, "What would you suggest I do?" "Get a lawyer who works for you, not them. Have the company independently valued. And most importantly..." Margaret's eyes met his. "Don't let anyone pressure you into signing tonight. Good deals don't need to be rushed." The next morning, William arrived early and locked the documents in his personal safe. He spent the day making phone calls Margaret had suggested, consulting with independent attorneys and business valuators. What he discovered shocked him. Margaret had been absolutely right. His partners had undervalued the company by nearly 60% and buried clauses in the contract that would have cost him millions in future royalties. That evening, as Margaret quietly went about her cleaning routine, William approached her, cart. "Margaret," he said softly, "I need to thank you. Your advice yesterday, it saved me from making the biggest mistake of my life." Margaret smiled but continued working. "I'm just glad I could help, sir." "There's something else," William continued. "I've been thinking about what you told me about your restaurant, about second chances." He handed her a business card. "I'm starting a small business investment fund. I'd like you to be my first partner, if you're interested." Margaret stared at the card, tears forming in her eyes. But sir, I'm just a cleaning lady. William shook his head. You're someone who sees what others miss, who speaks up when it matters, and who understands the value of honest work. Those are exactly the qualities I need in a business partner. 6 months later, Margaret hung up her cleaning supplies for the last time. She now spent her days helping other small business owners avoid the pitfalls she and her husband had once faced. And every evening she and William would review the day's work over coffee, two unlikely partners bound by a moment of whispered courage that changed everything. Sometimes the most important words are the quietest ones, and the most valuable advice comes from those we least expect to give it.